and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Members Leaks May.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Mayor Potem Polika.
Here.
Councilmember Piana. And Mayor Coulter.
Here, thank you. We have a quorum this evening. Is there a motion to excuse the absence of Councilwoman Piana?
I move that we excuse the absence of Councilwoman Piana.
Support? Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item of business would be the approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. The agenda has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the agenda?
Mayor, just for clarification, that's the amended agenda that was.
The amended agenda, yes, thank you. Which is online, right? Okay,
And available back there.
very good. Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Excuse me. Leaks May.
Yes.
Mayor Potem Polika.
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. The agenda is adopted. Moving on now to our next item is the presentations, and we have a couple of presentations this evening, including our police awards presentation. And so Chief Palazzolo is here to present those. Good to see you, Chief.
Good evening. How was everybody tonight?
Excellent.
Got a couple of awards, and I'd like to introduce a new officer. I guess we could start with our new officer, Officer Zach Coyle. Can you come on up here for a sec? He was sworn in today. Zach is a one-year veteran of DPD. He came to us. He's also a 6-year veteran of the United States Army with several combat deployments. He raises our percentage to about 31% of veterans that are now employed for the police department. So, everybody, Mr.
Excellent.
Coyle.
Welcome to Ferndale. Have a long and safe career.
If I could get Officer Drome, Officer Ungerman, and Officer Lemke up here, please. January 20th, 2019, at 4:19 p.m., Officer Ungerman, Lemke, and Jerome were dispatched to a church on Woodward Avenue on an overdose. Female was attending a support group meeting at the church and was unresponsive upon officers' arrival. Officers Ungerman evaluated the female and determined she had a pulse but was turning purple due to lack of oxygen. Officer Ungerman began rescue breathing as Officer Lemke administered 1 dose of Narcan. The color of the female began to return, but her breathing was still labored. Officer Drome relieved Officer Ungerman with rescue breathing until the fire department arrived. All 3 officers are receiving the life-saving award tonight. Officer Ungerman had a prior engagement and he couldn't be here for it, so.
Great work, guys. Thank you.
This next one involves quite a bit of teamwork across the Detective Bureau, the command staff, and the individuals on the road. It was a pretty lengthy write-up, so I'm going to try to summarize this so we can get these officers up here. How about all the remaining officers? Why don't you come up? On January 14th, 2 vacant homes were broken into, and the shift was made aware of this during the next night's briefing. At 0:21 hours, Sergeant Blanchard, Sergeant Toyson were at an unrelated call and noticed a broken key lockbox on the ground. They checked the surrounding homes and found a back door open with a hot water tank near the back door. The shift called for a plane car, set up surveillance on the home, set up a loose perimeter on the house with the rest of the shift, anticipating the thieves would return. A short time later, a vehicle pulled up in the driveway behind the home. Officers converged on the home and heard loud noises coming from the rear. Officers Harwood, Sesniak, Bodendorfer, Samaski, Zyrowski, and Zaley detained the 2 remaining occupants in the vehicle, and after a short foot pursuit, Sergeant Blanchard took the 3rd suspect into custody. The following day, Detective Prulick, Goebel, and Mallmeister interviewed the suspects, obtained confessions, and recovered evidence at another residence for a second home that was broken into. For their actions, Blanchard and Toyson are awarded the department citation. Szymanski, Bodendorfer, Sesniak, Zabrowski, Harwood, Zaley, Prulick, Goebel, and Mallmeister are awarded the unit commendation. If you follow the police blotters, you know that we've just been getting crushed on these vacant homes, getting broken into, stealing the water pipes, or stealing the water heaters and everything they can cut out and get out. So by their actions that night, they were able to put a couple career criminals, take them off the streets, and hopefully end this till the next crew starts. So, nice job.
Thank you.
Maybe if they made a pyramid.
Chief, are they getting younger or am I getting older? Well done. Appreciate the hard work.
One more thing I would like to talk about real quick. When I was promoted, I started a small tradition that other chiefs use. It's called the Chief's Coin of Excellence. When somebody does something that goes above and beyond, might not rise to the level of an award, but it's definitely work recognition. There's many stories on where this came from. The one I like is the Roman Empire rewarded soldiers by presenting them with a coin to recognize their achievements. So the coin I had drafted looks like it's been forged out of bronze. It's kind of oblong. It's got the department badge on there. It has our logo in Latin, serving with honor. And today I'd like to call up Lieutenant Spellman. Last year, I gave Dave a task of coming up with in-service training with very little guidance or direction, and on his own, he arranged several different topics and arranged all the scheduling, all the instructors, put it all together, and successfully trained everybody on our department. Dave is the kind of guy that you give him a task, no matter what it is, he goes above and beyond without asking any questions. And I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate your hard work. That's it.
Thank you, Chief. Our community really is blessed and fortunate by all the hard work of our men and women in uniform. So thank you all for the work that you do every day to keep our community safe. Thank you very much. All right. Our next presentation is a check presentation, but I don't see Nat Pernick unless I'm just missing him. Is Nat Pernick here with us today? I didn't think I saw him, so we'll have to postpone this until Nat can be with us. The weather might have been a factor, so we'll skip that for now. Then we'll go to our next item of business, which is call to audience. And the call to audience is your opportunity to speak to council about anything that's on your mind that's not on the agenda, because we'll give you an opportunity to speak to those items when we get to that part of the agenda. So if you've got anything that you'd like to share with council, come on up, give us your name and address, and 3 minutes is yours. Good evening.
Evelyn Elster, 760 West Drayton. If at all possible, if we could throw a little bit of money into the audio recording so it's not quite so painful to listen to on YouTube.
Of
I
the
don't know
council
if
meetings,
it's-
you mean?
I don't know if it's the mics or the recording device.
Yeah.
But it hurts.
Oh, okay.
It really, really hurts.
Thank
get
you.
a
No,
reverb that's really bad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially your mic.
Well, then I'm especially going to get on that. Yeah,
Exactly.
no, I appreciate that, Evelyn. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Good evening.
Good evening. Sharon Chess for the Ferndale Community Concert Band, making our announcement for our first ever band festival that we will present to the community on February 24th, Sunday at 3 o'clock in the high school auditorium. Our band festival will consist of the Ferndale Community Concert Band, the most favorite. And then who will be joining us is the Clarkston Community Band and the Rochester Community Band. So all three bands will be present. There'll be over 200 musicians that will be playing. The concert won't be any longer than what normal is, which is about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half. Each band will be playing 3 to 4 pieces and conducted by their own organization and supported. So we hope that everybody comes out. The concerts are free. There'll be a great bake sale. And it's another opportunity to get out from this cold weather and just look forward to another. So please join us for our very first ever band festival on February 24th, Sunday.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Yes, great reminder. Good evening.
I came up here just because I miss you guys.
Well, we miss you.
It's been quite some time. Tiffany Gagne, 360 West Woodland. I really do want to say Happy New Year, and the reason I'm here this evening is to support the Parks and Rec hard work on the skate park. There was an opportunity maybe for some of the kids to come back up here, but it's school and it's Cub Scouts and it's everything else, so please don't think that their absence means there's no support. So, hi.
Hi. Thank you. Good to see you again. And that is on the agenda, so others, if you want to speak to that, you can certainly do that when we get to that part of the agenda. Yes. Good evening.
Good evening, John Murray, West Woodland, also owner of Modern Ranch Baby. Joe had asked me to kind of take a look at parking on the long-term parking in the Withington lot, and he just said, hey, keep an eye on, tell me what you're seeing. So I just wanted to give you that information and see what. So the long-term parking, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, has already gotten insane. Again, I propose to you guys, long-term parking be eliminated from the Withington lot. I don't see why we wouldn't do this. Basically what's happening is people are parking there for 8 or 9 hours, and it's taking up a quarter of the space, a quarter of the parking lot. Again, we could have 9 or 10 turns, but instead what's happening is one person staying in there. At 10 o'clock, the back lot is completely filled, even on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So just wanted to let you know, 2 weekends ago it wasn't bad. This past weekend, we had a lot of complaints. I don't know what we can do about this, but I would really like Joe to take a look at that and say, maybe if that is the best course of action, just eliminate the long-term parking. This way, there's 1/4 of your lot that can be used by 10 or 11 people instead of just one person. So again, he just wanted me to take a look, and he says, it's not a problem, tell me when it's a problem. So the other day I said, it's not a problem, and then I'm here this weekend saying,
Okay.
it's already started.
And Joe's out of town, but we will make sure to get him that information. So thanks, John, for
You're
keeping
welcome.
us posted.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Yep. All right. Anyone else like to address council this evening? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on now to the consent agenda. Consent agenda are items that council considers routine and we enact in one motion unless council pulls something from the consent agenda. So let me read that now. Item A is the approval of the regular meeting minutes of February 4th, 2019. Item B is the adoption of a resolution approving the council travel for the MML Capital Conference in Lansing to be held March 19th to the 20th. Item C is the adoption of a resolution vacating Chesterfield Avenue and to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the quitclaim deed, which is attached to the Grand Trunk Western Railroad Company as provided for in the mitigation agreement entered between Grand Trunk Western Railroad and the city of Ferndale. Item D is the approval to reappoint Eric Grable, Mozgon Raji, Mark Van Dyke, Jennifer Young, and Douglas Christie to the Environmental Sustainability Commission for a term ending December 31st, 2020. Item E is the approval of the 2020 TAP applications for the proposed West Marshall resurfacing and West Troy streetscapes projects. Item F is the approval of the MDOT funding agreement for the 2019 Pinecrest Road resurfacing project. Item G is the approval to authorize a survey of both the Department of Public Works and Southwest Storage Yard by Zemet, Wozniak, and Associates for an amount not to exceed $15,000 to be taken from the account as noted. Item H is the approval of the expenditure of $3,625 to AOSH Services LLC for temporary traffic control training certification, and that the expense be charged to the general fund training and education account as noted. Item I is the approval of a purchase order for NAFID truck equipment for $10,000, and that the expense be charged to the general fund motor pool repair and maintenance account as noted. Item J is the approval of the execution of the memorandum of understanding between the city and Ferndale House for Schiffer Park improvements. Item K is the approval to authorize the appointment of Tanya Bowers as magistrate for the Hazel Park Division of the 43rd District Court as submitted by the Honorable Joseph Longo. And finally, item L is the approval of the bills and payroll as submitted by the City Manager's Office and subject to review by the Council Finance Committee. What is council's pleasure on the consent agenda this evening?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Martin, supported by Leaks May. Now, any discussion or comments on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Pro Tem Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. The consent agenda is adopted. We'll move on now to the regular agenda. And item A is a consideration of appointment of Adam Streed and Jamie Thornsby to the Ferndale Environmental Sustainability Commission. And are either Adam or Jamie here? Oh, wonderful.
Please come up.
Come on up. Just we won't embarrass you, we promise. We just
And I just want to say thank you for officially instating the Ferndale Environmental Sustainability Commission as an official commission this year. I really appreciate it. It's been really valuable for my time here at Ferndale, and I wanted to welcome the two new appointees, Jamie and Adam. If you guys want to
excellent. If you just want to introduce yourself and maybe just a little bit about your interest in serving, that'd be great.
Sure. My name is Jamie Stees Thorsby. I've lived in Ferndale for 2.5 years now, and I've loved every minute of it. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in civil engineering, and I've been interested in the environment, and I'd love to just be able to help my community and just bring my professional experience into this role. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. And Adam.
Hi, my name's Adam Street. I have lived in Ferndale for just over 3 years now. And since moving to Michigan from San Diego, I have wanted to get involved in some energy and environment issues. I became interested in those when I was a grad student in San Diego studying philosophy. So my background is academic. I worked for Oakland University in the philosophy department until quite recently, and I'm excited to start here on the Environmental Sustainability Committee.
Excellent, thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Adam or Jamie?
No, but thank you for serving.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I sit on the Environmental Sustainability Commission, so welcome. Though the vote hasn't happened yet, I don't think it's going to be a problem. But thank you for serving. Appreciate it. So I would like to move to confirm the appointment of Adam Streed and Jamie Thorsby to the Ferndale Environmental Sustainability Commission for terms ending December 31st, 2020.
Support.
Polika, supported by Martin. Any further comments, questions? Welcome. All right, Marty, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Polika?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you, and thank you both for your willingness to serve. Next item of business is the consideration of the Ferndale Skate Park location. And our Recreation Director will introduce that item, correct?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So let's talk about the skate park and its location. I know it's an exciting time. We are ready to get this skate park built. Thank you. All right. So I just want to give you a brief recap on where we were and where we are today. And basically, this conversation of a skate park started around 2016 and was incorporated in our master plan, and the community engagement started back then with our Parks and Recreation Master Plan that was approved in 2017. From there on, the city started the process in 2017 where we spilled over in 2018 and actually were awarded the Tony Hawk Foundation grant, Built to Play Skate Park grant. That just really pushed us to get this project going and get it done and make it bigger and better, because now we have additional funding and backing against it. And so we've done extensive research on skate parks and what to look for when put it for the location of a skate park. We did community engagement, got a lot of input from the residents, and from all of that, we presented to the park board back in September, where we narrowed it down to 3 sites, which were Wilson Park, Martin Road Park, as well as Geary Park. And all 3 parks at that time seemed to be the most viable parks to put the skate park. From the park presentation, it was approved for those 3 locations. They supported all 3, and the last caveat was to actually hire the contractor who was going to build and design the park and get their final input on and their expertise on where the location should be out of the 3 that we selected. So this is an excerpt directly from the Parks and Recreation Master Plan on Geary Park. Some of the things that were highlighted in the master plan were the key elements. Currently, we have a youth baseball and soccer field there, the Heroes Memorial Garden, a pavilion, a hockey rink, inline skating rink, a picnic area with grill, playgrounds, bathrooms, water fountains. Through the community engagement process, some of the wish list items that the community sought to see at Geary Park was a memorial program and benches, walking path, skate park, angle parking along Earl, sitting garden, and adult senior exercise equipment. So through our research and everything that we did to try to figure out the best location for the park, we actually came up with several pros and cons for Geary Park. Some of the pros included, one was good drainage. On the west side of the city, there's better drainage there than there is on the east side, which also reduces costs and makes a more optimal location for anything going underground or built underground, such as a skate park. There's a master concept plan that's already developed, and we actually accounted for a potential location for the skate park that fits perfectly. The development of Geary Park will begin this summer, as opposed to some of our other parks that, it'll just remain the same as we go through the planning process for a few years. Geary actually includes some of the top amenities that were identified through a survey of the residents and what they wanted by their skate park. It was supported by many residents. It's near Ferndale schools. It won't interfere with our recreation programs. It actually bring even more of an aesthetic appeal to Geary. We can utilize the existing trees within Geary as part of the skate park design, and it can actually be used as a canopy, a natural canopy. That park is very active, and you want more activities where you have a skate park or any amenities, really. And it's adjacent to assigned bike route and semi-protected bike lanes, and there's also a 5-minute walk to the nearest transit stop. There were some cons that we originally thought were cons for Geary, but after going through this process, they aren't considered cons anymore. It's not an issue. Those were limited space, interferes with intensive rec programs, and again, through the master development plan for Geary, we see that that's not an issue. And then also possible expansion of the Heroes Garden, which won't be impacted at all on the location where the skate park was proposed. But some of the cons, which this one may not be a con, depending on who you ask, is not easily accessible from freeways. It will increase the impervious surface some at Geary, and it's approximately 65 feet away from the closest area of the proposed skate park from the residents on the west side. I'm just going to show you a glimpse of the overall master plan, and I'll revisit this later in the presentation. And this is just to show you where the proposed location for the skate park is at Geary Park, which you can see it in the northeast side of the park along Pinecrest. So the process that we went through, number one was community engagement. First, of course, like I mentioned, we started with our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Then, more recently, we did a skate park survey where we put it out and we got over 235 participants that actually completed the survey, with 90% of them being residents and the remaining 10% were affiliated with Ferndale. So whether they have they're business owners or they work in Ferndale. And then we also had several community meetings and an open house. We had a design meeting in September of 2018, and we had the open house a month later in October. And one thing I didn't put up there is we also had a focus group, a teen focus group, where we engaged the teens to see what they wanted at Geary Park as well. And that it was approximately maybe 20 teens that attended that in middle school and high school, and they were all in support of the skate park. In addition, the design meeting that was in September, we had about 30 people from the Geary Park area that came, and then the open house had about 50. So from the open house that was held in September, the objective of that meeting was to basically allow the residents to design the park with no influence from the city and no influence from the architect. So we basically provided them with the information of what is there now, what must stay, such as restrooms, the baseball diamonds, and then gave them the tools that they needed to create and design a park. And it was very interesting because out of that, we had more than half that actually put a skate park at Geary, and then more than half that put a basketball court also. And then continue with community engagement. We continuously took comments and suggestions, whether it was from the website or phone calls or emails. We also had 2 skate park design meetings so far, one last year in August and one more recently in January. And we had a lot of input from the residents on wanting it at Geary Park, which, originally we weren't thinking Geary, but we actually had a lot of feedback that this was the preferred location from a lot of our community engagement meetings. So moving forward, not only did we engage the community, but we also engaged the professionals outside of the city. So we worked with our architects, Hamilton Anderson. We also worked with the Tony Hawk Foundation. We reviewed and relied on the skate park development guide. And then finally, our skate park contractor that was recently contracted. With the skate park contractor, we did site visits at each site. We also discussed the site conditions, and we provided them with all the up-to-date information and reviewed community meetings, surveys, and et cetera, so they know everything was on the table and they had the same information that we had in making that decision. And our internal engagement included our DPW department, police, CED, as well, of course, our Parks and Recreation staff. Out of the community engagement, there were some people, of course, that wasn't in support of Geary Park, and we wanted to understand what their concerns were. And a lot of it had to do with safety and police response, and is there going to be an increase in usage of the park will equal increase in maybe crime or hazards or what have you. So police took the initiative to actually pull data from Auburn Hills Park that actually has a skate park. That skate park is more of an open field, so it's surrounded by parkland, not too many homes. And then they also looked at Clawson Skate Park, which is more like Geary, that is in a residential neighborhood, in a neighborhood skate park and surrounded by homes. So out of that, they looked at 3 years, 2016, 2017, and 2018. And in 2016, there were only 4 responses that they had to go out to, 9 in 2017 and 6 in 2018. And for Clawson, there were 7 in 16, 13 in 2017, and 11 in 2018. And none of those were any violent crimes. It ranged anywhere from responding to assist with a car to maybe a suspicious person or something of that nature, but nothing that was violent or that was directly related to the skate park. And then we went even further, and police pulled out data from 2017 and 2018 for Harding Park and Wanda Park. Both of those parks have basketball courts. Wanda has a full basketball court, where Harding Park has 2 smaller size, similar to half-court basketball courts. And at Harding Park in 2017, our officers, city officers, went out 17 times, and 18 it was 18 times. And Wanda, in 2017, they responded 3 times, and in 2018, it was 5 times. And again, it was typical numbers for park responses, according to police, nothing that was, just off the radar at all, and there were no violent crimes. So it was pretty much of a consensus between all of the internal partners with the city that increase in park usage is actually encouraged. You don't want a vacant park with just one activity. The more eyes that you can have in the park, the better. And we also discussed, well, with improvements, we know more people, maybe more resources that are needed from our departments, and we're all ready to handle that throughout the process of all of our improvements in all of our parks, actually. So this next screen is something that I actually learned from the MParks conference I was at last week or 2 weeks ago. It was a study that was done by the National Study of Neighborhood Parks. And so they actually surveyed over 174 parks in 2014 and over 193 parks in 2016 throughout the entire U.S. And they basically went to each park and they surveyed it 2 days and they got data. So I just pulled out this one slide just to show you how what we're saying is pretty much on point about more activity, the better. So if you have more than one supervised activity, it actually increased park use by 48%. And then on-site marketing also increased it by 62%. So even through the recent community engagement process, we were all on board with we have to have good signage at the parks and, stating what the do's and don'ts are, but in a more friendly and inviting way. But this does have an impact on the successfulness of your parks. So where are we now in the process? We actually brought our recommendation for Geary Park and did a presentation on why we selected Geary, and the process we went through similar to what I'm doing now. And at our meeting on February 6th, it was supported by the park board to have the skate park at Geary Park. It was a very good meeting. Not everybody was on board at the first, all the participants, it was varied on who did want it and who didn't want it. There was a lot of community conversation, which was really good because those that did and didn't kind of talked it out and talked about what some of the concerns were and what, just answer them amongst themselves, which I thought was a beautiful thing before I even had to chime in. And some of the concerns that were brought up or that were talked about in the conversation were noise levels. And it was a perception that bringing a skate park, you have a lot more noise. But studies do show that the noise levels at a skate park are similar to anyone having a regular conversation between two people. So they actually measured it, and the skate park noise levels were about 52 decibels, where an average conversation would be 59 to 63 decibels. There was a concern about litter. You have more kids at the park, it may be more litter out there. And then we discussed how the culture of the sport, some people will need to learn the culture, but those that are really into skating know, like, hey, we got to keep our skate park clean. And they normally outnumber those who don't keep it clean. And so it's just something that's adapted through time. And then it seemed that mostly the current condition, things that are happening now, were a lot of what their concerns were, and I'll discuss that in a second, but a lot of that is being mitigated through our master concept plan. Then the current perceived youth usage of Geary Park, things happen at the park that are reported or, kids being kids. So when we actually held the focus group, one of the things that the kids said was the park was boring. That was the number one thing. So with bringing them more activities and more things to do, then you should have less vandalism. They would be more occupied because you know how idle minds work. So they need fun activities at the park. We talked about basketball court, and with it being a skate park and a basketball court and the noise that it may bring. And of course, we already addressed the noise with the skate park. And one of the things we discussed was we are looking into paving for our basketball courts. There's certain type of asphalt that you can get that's a little better than the regular asphalt that does help mitigate the noise. And of course, the interlocking courts similar to what we have at our hockey rinks. That's a little more costly. We can't afford that right now, but the foundation will be laid. So if we do get funding in the future, that's something that we can do at the basketball court to even reduce the noise further. And overall, it seemed that everybody was pretty in support of the plan and amenities that were going into the park, and happy with, the just having some improvements at the park in general. So, like I mentioned, some of the concerns that were addressed with and I won't go too much in detail because I'm going to present Gary in a minute, but this master plan. But basically, the pavilion being right behind their homes is very loud, and having to deal with that noise and any other noise that may be brought by new amenities. So to rectify that, we actually moved the picnic pavilion away from their backyard. So in the new plan, that should not be an issue when we get to that phase. We also know that there were complaints about the shed that's currently there, and it's not being visible, so activities can happen, undesirable activities can happen behind the shed, and that will be removed as well. The play area is being separated, and now we have it in one concentrated area. But I think pretty much majority of the concerns are being addressed. There was a concern about cars being parked along the street and people having to go to the basketball court, but we placed the basketball court right by the parking lot, so it should not have many cars just throughout the park and along the street parking. They'll be more concentrated in the parking lot for the courts. So all in all, I guess what we're trying to say today is our team has done extensive process to actually determine a location. And with all of our improvements, we're going to have a new park system in general, and we're going to continuously monitor and adjust the process. So if we do see something not working, we're ready to work together to make sure that in the future, the process is concrete and things are running smoothly in all of our parks, as we do with any other new program. So our next steps would be, if council was to approve tonight, we will host our final community design meeting of the skate park, which would be on February 28th. And then we would build the skate park. We'll present the design to you guys, of course, before it's finalized. And then once we break ground, it'll be approximately 120 days from the start date. We're looking, hopefully, if everything flows smoothly, to break ground by April, beginning of April, and then we could have this done by August, early September. And this is just a rendering. It's totally just a concept that was in the in the bid package that we received from Evergreen Skate Parks. So what a potential skate park could look like at Geary.
Well, thank you, Lorena. So I'm going to ask now at this point if there's anyone from the audience that would like to address council on this item before council begins to deliberate and have comment. Sure, come on up.
Hi, Sharon Chess, and I live on Earl Boulevard in the center of the park, and I've lived there for 17 years now, and it's been a wonderful park where I've raised my grandchildren from the little tiny toddler park to then the little bit larger park to the kickball field now, or just having them go over and shoot rockets. So I'm looking forward to the skate park and the basketball court because they're all too small to do that stuff and they want more exciting things to do. One of the most wonderful things about putting the skate park on Earl Boulevard is there are 15 homes along that route. We all face the park. We all watch the park. If we don't have children that go there, we have grandchildren that go there. We watch the kids that come there from school when school lets out or in summer. I watched the kids skateboard on the picnic tables, the roofs, the green building, and anything else that stands still. So I think it'll be a wonderful place to have the skate park and the basketball court. And to say that it's a boring park, it genuinely is. It's such a beautiful opportunity to expand it and have so much more for the kids to do. Because what I've noticed in the neighborhood the last few years is the families that are moving into Ferndale are looking to move here for the lifetime of raising their families. And so we have to transition all of our parks within the community to take it from the infants all the way through graduation of high school. On Saturdays and Sundays, I watch the pavilion. I think you rent it out almost every weekend to large parties or churches or groups of any sort. And the more we have for them to do it, the more revenue we'll bring into that park. I just think it's a great opportunity. If there's anything that goes on, either Pastor Gateman or my husband or I, we usually address those issues, head on, and the kids usually just kind of do it. So you have free policing, so please, I 100% endorse it, and I know most of our neighbors do too on Earl Boulevard.
Thanks, Sharon. Good evening.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Jordan Smelly, 242 Ardmore. I have been working with Lorena and the Parks and Rec staff since last June as part of the skate park, sort of a ad hoc citizens advisory group. And it's comprised of primarily residents of Ferndale from every conceivable sector of the city. We had some parents of young skaters. We had some adult skaters from a variety of backgrounds. We had non-skaters like myself who had a variety of interests in a skate park or the location of it or various aspects of it. So early on at our first meetings last summer, there were certainly a variety of opinions that often conflicted with one another. And in the intervening 8 months of working together with the Parks and Rec staff and city staff, it's been a phenomenal process, and we have all landed at the same place, as you've seen in the presentation tonight. I was initially skeptical of especially the locations being considered for a skate park, and I am fully on board with Geary Park as the proposed location, and especially the skate park as a component in the master plan you'll be looking at next. I think the process that Lorena has used to arrive at this decision is without flaw, if I can put it mildly. And she has done a great job of hearing and addressing concerns from all of the possible stakeholders throughout the community, whether they're residents or not. I would wholeheartedly endorse this, and I think this is going to be a great addition to our community.
Good evening.
Louise Asher, 919 West Lewiston. I'm one of the original 12 houses that were left behind when the park was brought in. Okay, so we've lived with
How
this.
did that happen, by the way? Were you there when it happened?
No, but the person we bought the house from was. And the city just simply ran out of money.
Couldn't buy them all.
So we're a fluke.
Okay.
We're in the middle of it.
Right.
Our experience is completely opposite from hers. We find it just jam-packed, action-filled. There's a lot going on. To say that children are bored and we must all go forward as a community and help them not be bored, the best gift we can give children is the ability to self-regulate and to amuse themselves. We like the idea of the skate park, but just not where we are. Our streets are busy enough. I'm representing 7 households on our side. We are the bulk of our side's neighborhood watch. The anger is intense. we didn't find out till well after this process was going on what was happening, and we were appalled. In talking with the Parks Department, she calmed our fears, she answered some questions, she honestly wants to work with us about this. My Neighborhood Watch people are telling me they will not be policing hundreds more children if they come in. That they are not babysitters, that this would be the police or the Parks Department's problem. I'm here today to gather more information, to go back with them and talk with them about this. But we need to know in advance, is this going to be promoted with DJs and skate park championships, and what is going to happen with this? Because Ferndale is a wonderful place to live, but sometimes it goes a little bit overboard in wanting everybody to come down and join us, okay? We've already lost 2 anchor neighbors because of these things happening in our city. And for those of us that are trying to decide if we're going to stay or not, we need to know what you guys are planning. Because we love Ferndale and we love our home. And I've lived in 3 different states and numerous committees, and these things happen from time to time, and your vision doesn't exactly match what's going on with the city council or the planners. So, green parks, quiet, peace. The data's in from around the world. City dwellers need quiet, peace parks. Yes, Gary's boring. It's a park. You get a book, you take a nap, you take a walk, you sit in the sun, you have some thoughts in your head. So, I'm just saying, I love the process of trying to meet the needs of the teens and keep them out of trouble. But for those of us that are on the other side of it, that are living with it daily, more traffic, more car doors slamming, and everything that comes along with that vibrant attraction to that park, we are deeply concerned about. And I really don't know what to tell my Neighborhood Watch people at this point. But I thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
And Lorena, could you just address the point, was there any discussion or consideration to doing DJs or championships or other sort of events outside of normal skate usage at the park?
Yeah, well, no, we have not really, we don't plan on doing anything like that. It's not going to be a regional skate park because it's more in the neighborhoods, and it's a smaller skate park as opposed to some of the larger ones that do host things like that. I know when we open this skate park, we will have an open event as part of our grant, maybe from time to time, but nothing where we're coming in hosting nationals. We don't even have elements like that to be able to do something that large. Our skate park will appeal to all ages and abilities. So from 2-year-olds up to 50, 60-year-olds that are still skating, those who like transition or bowl skating, and those who like street skating, whether it's stairs or a rail. So it's not focused on one type of skater per se. So no, we don't plan on having a big regional type of skate park where we have all these huge events. I'm not going to say it's never going to happen where we may have something from time to time, because we do want to have like skills trainings and things like that, working with our community skaters to teach the young kids how to skate. But yeah, nothing to the massive level, I think, of what you're
And would I be correct
envisioning.
in saying, and maybe this is the city manager question or you, I don't know, but that an event like that would require a special event permit, which would go through which would have to go through a special event and a public process anyway. So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Other comments or questions?
Hey there, Brad
evening.
Dahlhofer on West Woodland, formerly of Wordsworth. Probably remember me, I'm the guy that said, stop, about 1.5 years ago. Been working on this since Lloyd in the DPW was running the project. Anyway, I just wanted to, cut past all the stuff everybody else has already said. Obviously, I'm very for the project. I definitely learned a lot in the process, going through the Tony Hawk Foundation grant process and whatnot, getting to work with Lorena, I think was a real privilege, as well as working with other people in the community. Jordan, I feel like I got to know very well from the very beginning. I think him and I kind of, all I wanted was a skate park, and all he wanted was to make sure that anything non-skate park still was being met. And just meeting yourself, forgot your name, but was it? Louise, getting to meet Louise, was it last week? Yeah, last week, and hearing the different concerns of those neighbors. I think it's important as a community that we are listening to each other. What some of us find to be a lot of fun and, worthwhile in life, not everybody does. I'm very excited to be seeing a skate park coming to the community. I myself live near Geary, so I was very surprised and happy to find out that was the recommendation from Parks Department. But I think that, the due diligence was put forth. There were times where I was just like, come on, let's go. But I felt like it was the right amount of research. It slowed things down a little bit for my liking, but it definitely gave us a chance to get out there and talk to more people in the community who aren't necessarily into skateboarding and live right next to those parks and hear what their concerns are. Being a part of it, I think I got to help other people feel more comfortable as well. Just coming from a skateboarding background, I've been skateboarding since 1983, so I've seen it from the time where everybody thought skateboarders were druggies and losers and such, and now it's becoming an Olympic sport. So just wanted to thank the city. This is why I've set my roots down. I got 2 kids in the elementary schools here in Ferndale, brought them back from Berkeley, and I'm here to stay. So I think this is a great move forward for the city. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else like to address council? Again?
I would just like to exercise a word of caution. Aside from the last couple months, prior to the last couple months, which we have had an increase in police presence in our little northwest section, which I really, really appreciate. You have no idea how much I appreciate. But prior to that, for the last 5 to 7 years, we had nothing, little to nothing. I remember the days, and I've been here a long, long time, I remember the days when I'd be playing in the dirt out in the yard, and I'd wave at the patrol car going by, thumbs up, thanks, dude. But over the past 7 years, we haven't had that. Okay, so my point is, let's not fall back to that with all this increase in traffic. I have a question as to whether there will be a stop time on the park in the evening. Are we going to put lights in the basketball court, and is it going to be jamming? And keep all those of us who have to work for a living up all night long? Because we get bumps. I don't know where they're coming from. I know my neighbor next door has drums, but they're not him. So we get boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And I'm sorry if I can hear, what am I supposed to do? Live my whole life with earplugs? So, between that and I recall the basketball courts at Roosevelt and how they used to dribble all the way coming from Oak Park over to Roosevelt and dribble all the way back, and there'd be gangs of a lot of people back and forth, dribble, dribble, dribble. In the evening, late at night, are we going to allow that? Is there going to be a cutoff time of like 9, 10 o'clock? Or is this going to be just a free-for-all?
I'm going to actually ask Lorraine to answer that. The park has a closing hour?
Yes.
What time is that?
10.
10 o'clock.
Okay, so people that have to get up
No
at 4
skating.
a.m. could go to sleep by 10.
No skating after 10. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So currently, as it stands, those are our park hours for all of our parks, from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. The parks that do have lights, they are on timers, so they cut off at a certain time. So if we were to, hopefully, we want lights in the park because we want to be able to see in the evening, mainly for security purposes, if anything, but it would definitely be on a timer as well.
Anyone else? John? I guess I should ask you, Lorena, is there plans to have the skate park lit or just the basketball court or any of it?
Well, it's highly recommended to eventually have the skate park lit as well, because especially we want to increase the user times in the fall and winter. You do have kids that go out in the wintertime and push the snow off of the skate park and skate. So, yeah, but if it gets dark at 5, then, and they can't see. So we would like to have lighting in the park and at the skate park eventually.
It's not in the initial plan, or maybe it is, I don't know.
Well, it is, it's in the plans if we can afford it.
Okay,
We phased out as much,
yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you, Lorena. Yeah, John.
John, West Woodland. It's in my backyard. I thought it was going to go somewhere else, but I'm really happy it's going to Gary Park. I am not a skater, but I will become a skater. I'm 45 years old, and I want to make sure that this is just not for the kids, right? I'd like to see the 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds out there as well. Some 70-year-olds, I've seen them. I'm really excited just because I think it's beautiful, and Ferndale, as much as I want them to slow down, you guys won't slow down, and I just think I'm catching on and say, okay, what are we doing next? But I'm really excited about this park, and I've been a little bit of a naysayer lately, so having me agree with everything you're saying is kind of a nice change. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sharon?
In regards to the noise issue, particularly in the summertime when different organizations or families rent the pavilion there, they quite frequently have a sound system set up, either for announcements or dancing or singing or whatever it is they're going to do there. And being across the street, it's like, depending on the wind blows, I can either be doing the rap or rocking in my sky chair kind of thing. And I don't know that anybody has ever complained about that type of music being there, and it will go right till 10. And I've never heard it go past the park hour. I've never seen an officer having to go and go, hey, the music's too loud or the park is closed, you need to close it down. It appears from our perspective that people have always paid attention to the timeline of the noise and vacating the park. Even in the existing skate park that's there now, there's a hockey team, an adult hockey team that plays there. I can hear them swatting the puck back and forth and skate, but I've never heard loud voices over there. So the people that come to the park seem to be respectful of what's going on, and they're there to do exactly what they came to do. Either relax, read a book, hang a hammock, or play in the park, or just be entertained in the park. So that's it for noise.
Thank you. All right, I'll give council an opportunity to weigh in now. Questions of council?
Well, I'll start.
Sure.
I remember growing up on the southwest end of Detroit, and the closest park to my house was Patton Park. And it was about a half a mile away from my house, and it had everything, all kinds of amenities, including a pond where, we used to catch frogs and get our feet all muddy. There was at least a dozen different things to do. And it was loud and it was busy with tons of kids. And I drove by a few years ago, and a lot of the play equipment was gone, and the pond was filled in, and there was nobody there. It was just empty. It was the middle of summer. Parks are meant to bring people together, to engage with one another, and be active. Going off on a little bit, unlike putting in a garden or a soccer field, we're investing $500,000 into this one amenity. So we need to get this right. And I think we did that by going through the extensive and lengthy process to involve the community and do a formal study. And I know that everybody isn't going to be happy. We can't make everybody happy. But I think a lot of people, I think the majority of people who have a direct interest in this are genuinely excited and happy with the location that it's going into. And so I really want to thank Lorena for going the extra mile on this project. You didn't just assume that Wilson Park was going to be the right one because a couple years ago, that's what the former DPW director said, that's where we're going to put it. You really took the time to work with the community and identify the best location. And so thank you.
So I've had the pleasure of being on the park board as a liaison, and I've watched Lorena back a couple years back talking about the concept of the park, and also the transparency that you've shown has been just really impressive, and I really appreciate it. As far as the community engagement, I appreciate that piece too. I remember when you came to the meeting and all of a sudden you were hit with 3 different locations instead of the one, and how you handled it with grace and how you just went back and worked with your team and came up with solutions that I think will work for everyone. Greg brought me back to talking about, parks. My children are getting up there in age, but I'm a mother of many. So, and now they'll be able to utilize the park in a different capacity. So I'm very excited about that. I do hope that the police and the community continue to watch out for the park because it's an investment, and I think it's going to be a wonderful addition. And I hope everyone can enjoy it. So, thank you for all your work with your team. Thank you.
I just want to echo what my colleagues have said, Lorena. This feels like we've been working on this a long time, but it's time well spent and well executed, and I think it's a decent solution. I regret that not everybody is going to be totally happy with this, but that's, as a community, as we step forward in reactivate and activate these spaces. I don't live near it, but this is the park I go to, so I kind of consider Geary my home park when I sack out with a book in an afternoon, and I'm really excited about these changes, and I think that it just cultivates community, and I'm hoping that those who are concerned will find a better experience with it than what they expect. But this is, I think, well done, and you and your team and Jordan and everybody who participated just did terrific work. Thank you.
So, what?
Actually, if I may add,
Yeah.
It's interesting because I actually just realized we're coming up to Lorena's first year, I believe. Oh, 2 years. 2 years. Yeah. Oh, God, 2 years. And it just seems like you've done so much with our parks. So, again, happy anniversary.
And I'm often more in the camp of where Brad was, of come on, let's go, why is this taking so long? Because I've been talking about parks since I became mayor, and when I saw what I thought was rather deplorable conditions in a lot of our parks, very underused, I don't know if I used the term boring, but very underused parks. And so the fact that we're adding amenities, not that I came up with, but that the community actually came up with is really exciting to me. I've used this African proverb before, but I think it's so apropos of Ferndale. It goes, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And so we often take a little extra time to come together and to talk these things through, and you certainly did that, and your presentation certainly highlighted how well you helped bring our community together to make this decision. And no decisions are perfect, and there'll be impacts. We try to mitigate those, and we can certainly do that with law enforcement and other ways that we control the park. But I'm also, as a non-skater, excited about the park. Maybe I'll try it. Brad, maybe you could show me how not to break my neck. I promise I'll try.
I'd like invitations to that attempt.
And so I'm excited to get started. It feels to me like it's been a while, but time well spent. So thank you, Lorena, and your staff, and the public, and everybody who engaged with Lorena to help make this the skate park that it's going to be. So thank you all. So a motion would be in order.
Where's the motion? All right. I move that the city council approve Geary Park as the location of the skate park as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Director.
Support.
Moved by Leaks May and supported by Martin. Any final comments of council? Barney, would you call the roll, please?
Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Potem Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember Leaks May?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted.
Thank you, and I want to thank the entire team and everybody that also helped us with the skate park and get to where we are, from the community to our internal departments, as well as our community advisory skate park committee.
All right, speaking of Geary Park, the next item of business is the consideration of the master concept plan for Geary Park. So, Lorena, you're going to introduce that item as well.
All right, so just to give you an update, a few months ago, in November, council approved the Phase 1 of Geary Park, which included the MDNR grant improvements as well as the basketball court. And so what that was a large portion of the walking path, which you see on the screen here, as well as amenities such as park benches and trash receptacles, landscaping, and as I mentioned, the add-on item, if the budget allows, under this phase of the basketball court. If I can scroll to the next page. There we go. So we've been working with Hamilton Anderson and Associates to complete the entire master plan. We've done a lot of community engagement. I don't think I need to rehash everything we did from the previous presentation. And this is where we are now to the final design. I'm going to go ahead and let Megan just go through the different elements that we haven't already talked about to give you an idea of the future of Geary Park.
Hello, Megan Dicio, Hamilton Anderson. So as Lorena said, we did do several different community engagement activities, including a design open house, which was just an opportunity for, participants to express their kind of desires for the park, including where they would put them. Some of the things that we heard were that people were looking for opportunities for passive recreation, which there's plenty of now in the park, and wanting to retain some of those elements. Opportunities to integrate more of a landscape area or like a garden area, particularly with a native plant type theme. Consolidation of the playgrounds so that parents with children of multiple ages could supervise all their children at the park, and just generally updating the playground. We heard definitely from residents who were interested in seeing some of the louder amenities in the park pulled away from their homes, such as the pavilion, and we already talked about the shed. And also interest in having a community gathering area, which was also an idea that we have been talking about with the Parks Department, as this is your closest park other than Schiffer, which we'll talk about after this, to your downtown, and kind of the natural point to have a larger community gathering space, to kind of facilitate and connect with the activities that happen downtown. So just quickly walk you through, as well as, of course, we need to make improvements for accessibility to make sure that all the residents of Ferndale and visitors are able to navigate through the park safely and in accordance with the law. So we are maintaining the existing recreational functions in the park of the softball field and the t-ball field, and then also have made sure to dedicate a large area to the soccer field, which will enable the Parks Department to fill a need they have for a youth-sized soccer field. That they have very few parks where they can fit one of that scale. So we've ensured that that has a place here. We've incorporated next to the Heroes Garden, it seemed like a natural place to integrate a more of a garden environment with a less formal walk. We're proposing like a decomposed granite or something that would feel a little more low key than the asphalt paths throughout the park. Seating areas, maybe a small shade structure if people wanted to rent it to do a wedding or a small gathering. They're integrating a picnic area over by the Heroes Garden as well. The basketball court, Lorena already mentioned, is an alternate in Phase 1. If it doesn't happen in Phase 1, it's part of Phase 2. This court would be set up with actually 6 hoops so that it could have a full court game, or it would have 4 half courts. So the city would have flexibility if there are issues with having a full court there, and the people that might be attracting, they can switch it to just half courts or 2 half courts, or just give them the flexibility with removable hoops to maximize the use of that and in the park. Adjacent to that is the fitness area that is in Phase 1 with adult fitness equipment, and we're trying to gear that also to appeal towards the teenagers that use the park and give them some physical opportunities for physical fitness and fun over there. The only place we really had to consolidate the playground was over here between these residential parcels here. So this is where we're showing a playground. We're hoping that this would have more of a creative, maybe even natural playground theme in this area, and we're also incorporating more of a paved play area that can fulfill some of the uses that are currently happening in the inline skating rink that's existing. Obviously, it's not going to host an inline game, but that use will remain at Harding Park. But we heard a lot about people taking their kids there to learn how to ride bikes safely or their tricycles. Just having sort of a place that kids can feel, parents can feel like their children are contained while they're playing on rolling equipment. We did locate here as an option a parking area. This is not necessarily going to be built. This was just, we knew that there was a need expressed during the master planning process for increased parking, off-street parking, especially if there was increased programming of the park. So part of our charge during this process was to identify where that could go if it was seen by the city as being necessary. We're also locating the restrooms, trying to maintain a central location back here that's pulled away from the street. We heard some concern about the lights glaring in homes on Earl. A smaller picnic pavilion over here by the playground, because you hear a lot about parents wanting shade when they're at playgrounds. And then back where the current larger, or not larger youth, but older youth play area is, that would be removed. We'd keep the swing set though, because the teens like the swings, and you can never have enough swings. And having just a passive walkway through there to take advantage of the existing mature tree cover, and then connecting into that community gathering area. These are conceptual designs. It's not necessarily going to have this form, especially as the design for the skate park evolves. We see those as being interconnected and wanting to speak a language, so we'll be working with the designers of the skate park on that. But the intent being that there would be a mounded area that sort of acted as a natural seating area for informal performances, and a small plaza that could host a farmer's market or exhibits if the city were to host an event here with a larger pavilion. So those are some of the elements that are incorporated into the Phase 2 master plan. And I don't know if you're going to touch on the budget. I'll let you do that. Okay.
That also shows the skate park. So again, like we mentioned before, it will be phased out as we get funding. We do have quite a few grants that we are in the works right now and hoping that we get. But regardless, we have Phase 1 underway this year, and then hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of this done sooner than later.
Good. All right. So is there anyone from the public that would like to comment or have questions on the Geary Park Master Plan?
One of our concerns have always been the road, Earl Boulevard, going from corner to corner. It's always been a straight shot for somebody to go from 0 to 60 from that. So does this master plan also include what they'll do to put like speed bumps and stuff in there? Or is that with a DP, you know?
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be part of the parks plan. That would have to be part of a traffic calming effort if that was.
So at the same time that we're redesigning the park, will that be a consideration also? Because, you know, I'm noticing Maplehurst and a couple of the other neighborhoods now have the speed bumps to go, and we definitely want them in front of the park, and especially if we're going to be seeing more children, you know, going back and forth
So
to
there's
that
a
park as well.
process to go,
Have our planner take a look at that street.
yeah, there's a process to go through to get the speed bumps. The neighbors need to sign a petition and that sort of stuff, but
Look at
we
it.
can let
We
you
do
know
some
what that
studies
is.
first,
Yeah,
so.
but that can
Okay.
be done immediately or after the park starts to get more engaged or whenever you like, but
Okay.
it can begin immediately if you like.
Okay, let us know what we can do, because we'll sign anything we need to sign. But it has been a concern for a few years, and we just figured that would be kind of a natural progression of the planning as well.
Justin's in the audience, so he's paying.
Okay, so Justin is taking notes on that. Excellent. All right. Jordan?
Hi, I love this plan. I walk all over Ferndale and I use our parks a lot to take a break on my walks. I live over by Wilson Park, which I agree with the mayor, has not been in the best of shape for a very, very long time. Needs some attention. It will get it in the future, but I know that it is not getting its master plan upgrades for quite some time. So in the meantime, I need a place to hang my hammock when it's warm and sunny. And we don't have a whole lot of parks with enough trees close enough together to hang a hammock. And with the 120 or something like that new trees that will go into Geary under this master plan, I will have a variety of choices on where to hang a hammock and take a nap and read a book. So even though I don't live near Geary Park, I will be spending a lot more time in Geary Park if this plan goes through. So I like it, and I hope you approve it.
Appreciate it, thank you. Anyone else?
Can I just make a quick comment? Jordan, you do realize that they're not going to be 30-foot trees that we're going to be planting in the park.
Right, there you
Gotcha.
go.
Hey, Brad again. I'm really excited about the design with two little kids. I think, you know, as somebody who moved into Ferndale without kids, I wasn't really thinking much about how to raise them. I've just fallen in love with the city to the point where I can't leave, and I'm glad to see that we're doing things like this that give me a place to take my kids. I definitely find things to do at Geary Park and the other parks. I've lived next to Wilson as well. But there's definitely a lack of activities. I really like what I'm seeing here, the community gathering area and so forth. It definitely seems to be compartmentalizing different areas where people there who are there for similar activities will be congregating and leaving other people who are doing something else to have their own space as well. So it kind of allows us to come together, but at the same time still be kind of separated. The only thing I would ask, though, if there is any room in the budget, this plan shows 2 water fountains. And I wanted to suggest that we really look at putting the money together for a water fountain near the community gathering, picnic pavilion, skate park area. Because number one, areas of high activity are going to make kids thirsty. And to have to go across to that area there means that skateboarders are going to be riding their skateboards down the shaded walk and past Hammock Grove, past Pooh's Corner and Eeyore and all that. So it's going to add extra traffic over there. And I also think that it's going to increase the littering over by the skate park and the community gathering area, the picnic area. Because if I have to bring a water bottle or other kids have to bring a water bottle, they're also very likely, if it's like my son, to forget it. You know, and it's not because he's intentionally trying to litter, but so if we even reduce, you know, the need to bring a water bottle or to travel back and forth across the park. I think we're going to see a lot less litter and a lot less of, bigger kids going over to the playground areas. Thanks.
Good point. Thanks. Council, questions or comments?
Just a couple real
Yeah.
quick questions. The trash receptacles, is there any way, are we, these little Power Buddy things we got out here now for the trash? The recycling trash that communicates when it's overflow and stuff like that. Is that the same kind of thing we're gonna do in the parks, or is it just a normal?
As of now, it's just normal. It's my understanding that's a pilot to just see if it works. And at the parks, we have DPW that's out there so much, we don't know if it's necessary yet. So
Okay.
that's just,
But
we'll see.
It will include recycling?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Do you have a sense, I know you're adding a lot of tree cover to this, but in the process of construction, how many trees are we losing?
Yep, I have that for you. So. So in total, we are removing 29 trees and we're planting 117. And that's through all phases.
Thank you.
Lorena, this is beautiful and more than I would have come up with. The only thing that strikes me that I don't see in here that could be nice is, was there discussion of having any sort of art or art structures or in the park? Maybe that's a separate conversation as we just talk about art in the city.
If I may through the
more
chair, the
broadly.
conversation's going on, the Arts Commission is actually working on just that.
Oh, that would be awesome. Okay.
Yeah, that would, and that would be perfect in like our community gathering area.
Right? Or even along the walk or something, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Seating wall, also call out art for the seating wall area in the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? All right. A motion would be in order then.
I'd move that City Council approve the Geary Park Master Concept Plan as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Director. Support.
Supported by Polika. Now, any final questions, comments, concerns? Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Polika?
Yes.
Council,
Tripping on her name.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. Thank you, Lorena. I'm guessing you might be the next one too, right? The next item of business is the consideration of Schiffer Park budget for park improvements.
Most time I spent with you guys.
Feels like 2 years just up at the podium today.
Okay, so Schiffer Park, we brought before you last year the design for Schiffer Park, which was approved. There were a few questions to follow up on as a contingency, which I believe we did answer through the memo. Some of those questions included, one, is there an opportunity to make the seating platform ADA accessible? And this is the current design, and I'll go back with the revisions we made. But the answer was yes. We've actually worked with one of our park members, Emily Obert, and helped with the design of making this more ADA accessible. So we were all in consensus, and I'm happy with making that first level ADA. We tried to make all levels ADA accessible, but it impacted the trees and the overall concept of what the design was going to be, and she was happy with that. It was also approved by the park board. So the first level will be ADA accessible for the seating platform. In addition, there were questions from council about the cost of replanting 5 trees as opposed to removing them and moving them to another location as opposed to just removing them from the site. With that, it was very costly. For the large tree, Davy Tree gave us these estimates. It was approximately $50,000 to $100,000 to move. And it varied because of logistics It just depends on when they get out there. And the other 4 trees would range anywhere from $550 to $750 to move. So after looking at that, as well as discussing with our sustainability planner, we didn't think it was cost efficient to actually replant those trees. But we are adding more trees to the park than what we currently have. Then we also provided the question was, does the traffic study address future impacts on the right turn only lane removal? And the executive summary was provided, and with it not being impacted more than 1.7 second delay. So there was nothing major, no major change or anything from what we reported before on the traffic study. And lastly, we've conferred with our fire department on whether or not the trucks would be able to turn on the Planavine if we were to remove the right turn only lane, and they are in support of removing the lane and the trucks can turn. It's just we want to make sure we keep a close eye on that when we have events, because sometimes there's more traffic, and then we may look at changing how what we allow parking and don't allow parking in the future. And I know we have Giffords Webster here, as well as the acting chief as well. So if you have any further questions with regards to that.
Okay.
So now moving along, we did make some minor changes to the plan, mainly because of budget. We have some more realistic costs on what it'll cost to get our dream Schiffer Park, so we had to just modify a bit. You probably won't see a real huge difference. The concept and the feel of the park remains the same. So this was the original site plan, where you see we have 4 planters and about, I want to say 14 trees. And then this is the revision. We have a more glamorous seat platform, but we did remove 2 planter boxes and a few of the trees and just made it a little more symmetrical. And here's a side-by-side comparison. So on the left is the original plan, and on the right is the new plan.
I actually like the new plan better.
I agree. I think we did. And those were just the major changes that we did. So, and these are just some general visual concepts of Schiffer. Again, this is the original where the extra 2 planter boxes were. But, you know, this is the feel that we're going for as well in the evening and during the day, just to have a real downtown park. So the budget for Schiffer that we are requesting approval on is $348,000 is the project total. We are getting contributions from Ferndale House in $90,000 and DDA in $75,000. So the remaining will be covered from the city, from the park bond, as well as general fund.
Questions or comments about this item?
Do you want to invite anybody from the audience?
Yeah, if there's anyone that would like to. Good evening.
Good evening. My reason for being here tonight, I'm Jackie Smith with the DDA, the new chair, and I know we're looking forward to this coming to its fruition from the DDA. We're excited to be part of this. I just had one question. Is the original number from Ferndale House, did that remain the same? I thought they were contributing more originally. Did that number go down?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too. So what's going on with that number?
It did go down a little bit. They had done some site work already. That was part of the cost. Originally, they were going to do some of the work, so it did shift a little bit. It was originally like 120, I believe.
But with the work they have already done, the value will still be the same. If the contribution, the dollar contribution plus the site work that they've already done, the value will still equal what they had committed to, correct?
Mostly.
Okay.
There was close.
All right. And how much did this differ from the original plan that Ferndale House had committed to? Did it differ a lot? Yes. Okay. I'm getting a lot of pushback from some of the businesses in downtown. They were very disappointed that it wasn't, we didn't stick to our guns with some of the original plan. I just wanted to make sure I communicate that. They were hoping for something that's a little more like Ferndale House originally had talked about. I realize financially it could not be done at that level. Sometimes we dream big and we have to come back down to reality, but I would be at fault if I didn't share that.
Sure, we talked to Lorena that the original plan was much less than this, so I'm a little surprised that there might just be a miscommunication on
Okay.
which
Yeah,
one.
what features
I'll make sure,
were originally?
I'll make sure that
let's
I
make
chat with them.
Correct.
Yeah, on my way in, I got texts and emails and whatnot, so I wanted to make sure I
So
communicated
let's
that.
make sure that we didn't miss something.
Yeah, let's make sure we communicate. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what those amenities that they were
Yeah,
looking for were
so that's
either,
why,
so,
you know,
yeah.
we try to be as open as possible to say, okay, here's some of the feedback I'm getting, so we can communicate that a little bit more. But the DDA is happy to participate. It's part of our big plans, and so I love this idea of the little space. It's way more interesting than what it was before. So, and I like what you did, so thank you.
And Jackie, while you're there, I just want to thank the DDA for the contribution to the park and also the advice and just the support. And you guys have been a great partner in this. So thank you.
I just want to echo
We
that. I
like
was going to say
partnering.
that before you went away. This is the second time in 2 weeks you've been a significant partner on projects. And I just love the vibe that we've got going. And thank you
Right.
for your leadership. And please pass our thanks on to your board.
I'll take all the credit for that leadership for the past couple of years, since I've only been doing this for 6 weeks. But yeah, that was one of our big goals 3 years ago, when we started making some change, that we are really working in concert with the city, and that is happening. So go
We
team
appreciate it.
Ferndale.
Amen. Thank you. Thanks, Jackie.
So if you don't mind, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So the plan that was approved by DDA, that we did, the
Yeah.
city did,
Was
with
that
Hamilton
original plan.
Henderson, right, is
Right.
the original on the left side.
Yeah.
And so what we're amending today is just the one on the right side, and the one that Ferndale House proposed in 2016 was totally different
Yeah.
from this. Okay, just so we know, I don't know if the business community is referring to the changes from
Yeah, I
the
don't think
left to
they
the
know
right.
this original one. I think
Okay.
you're right. They're looking back at this 2016 one, which was
Okay.
the original concept, and
Okay.
probably thinking about that, would be my guess.
And if you want, I can email you the old plan as well if you want to get our contact. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Lorena.
Noting that they evaluated the cost of that at $105,000, so that gives you an idea of how much more the city's getting than what the developer had originally proposed doing.
I'd like to move that City Council approve the revised Schiffer Park site plan and budget being funded by the Park Bond account number 450-000-977-750 in the amount of $75,000 and Park Capital Outlay account number 101-750-977-000 in the amount of $108,000 and completion of the Schiffer Park Improvement Project as recommended by Parks and Recreation Director.
By Martin, supported by Leaks May. Now, are there questions or comments? And I have one. What is the timeline for this one?
Well, we're hoping to, we can start tomorrow once we get
So we're
the
waiting on
approval.
Ferndale House?
But,
Are we waiting on Ferndale
No.
House?
So you
No.
approved the memorandum of understanding on the consent agenda as it
He
relates
meant
to.
to be completely done.
I mean to start construction and finish
May.
construction of the park.
June.
Memorandum of understanding, you're going to commence.
By this June. Lovely. We have a lot of groundbreakings this year. That's wonderful. Okay. Other questions or comments?
I just want to say that I'm really excited about this. This is a long time coming. I love the plans that we have going out for that park. I do want to say that I am very disappointed in Ferndale House. This park is basically the entrance of their building. And I think that they could have easily invested more into this park because most of their residents are going to be using it on a very constant basis. So I just want to get that out there. That's my personal opinion.
Two other questions that I thought of. So the timeline question, starts in June, about how long does it take to build Schiffer Park?
Well, we're hoping 60 to 90 days
60 to
for
90 days.
majority.
That's it.
Yeah, is
That's
that pretty
great.
accurate?
Wow, okay. And then the second thing is, in the renderings, when you look at Ferndale House in the background, there is retail or commercial on that side. Is that accurate? Is that just the renderings? Or is there actual shops or stores that could be there? I'm just curious. That's the first time I had noticed that kind of activity.
Brought a vendor in and introduced him to us.
Sure, yes. So there are plans for those. There haven't been officially like tenants that were, shared with the city, but there have been, but as part of the site plan approval, there was a couple spaces that could be office, could be retail, could be a carry-out type of spot. But we were very clear from the start also that if there's anything that has seating outside that, cannot be part of the internal portion of the park.
Yeah.
So through the chair, if I may, so the gentleman that Ferndale House brought out, I don't remember if it was here at Planning Commission with the coffee shop, he's gone?
I can't confirm either way. I haven't heard from them on a potential tenant yet. So,
Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
thank you. Other questions?
I do have some questions
Yeah.
for Lorena. Actually, a little bit of concerns. So we have a number of events that happen in the downtown. Planavon gets closed for some of them. Ferndale Pride is June 1st. And their stage is going on Planavon that needs that width. The stage has already been rented, the plans have already been submitted to the special events. So you may want to communicate with Michael with special events to determine what special events have been approved and what plans have been approved that are going to be affected by this construction. And that may end up having to delay some of that construction, because it's going to be hard to go to Ferndale Pride now and say, sorry, you can't, you have to get a new stage, a different, layout, all of that, so.
Definitely. We've been working with him on some of our other park improvements, so we'll make sure that Schiffer's not left out.
Okay, thank you.
We were just waiting.
Pride, by the way, is it June?
June 1st.
June 1st. So when you said it starts in June, it could be, Lorraine, it could be in the middle of June.
Right. Start the day after Pride.
There we go. But his point is, there may be other ones.
Yeah, well, it's just, I mean, we mentioned that it could start tomorrow,
Right, definitely.
So my concern was, if it starts in, March or April, then, we could have a problem, so.
Okay. Other questions?
I'm
No,
just
thank you.
excited that this is happening. It's going to be really nice to have some parks that we can really be proud of and showcase in our city. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that.
All right. Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Bartlett?
Yes.
Councilmember Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. Thank you, Lorena.
Lorena, you earned your pay tonight, man.
Hey. The final regular agenda item isn't nearly as exciting, but it's important, and that is the consideration of the 2019 Sewer Cleaning and Televising Program Bid Award.
Parks to sewers.
Good luck
Only in Ferndale.
trying to follow all the
I
parks. but,
apologize for always having such exciting presentations. But no, this is for 2019 sewer cleaning and televising. This is to award the bid to United Resources. So they will be televising and cleaning 115,000 feet of sewer around the city. It's about a quarter of what we have total feet-wise for our sewer, our combined sewer system. And then, so we had money budgeted this year. They came in low bid at $340,000. So that gives us a decent chunk of change left over that we budgeted for emergency repairs as those pop up while they are televising. And then we'll take that information that we get from them, plan for our repairs for the future. That money has been budgeted going out for a few years. So it's nothing super fancy. Scott's got some positive feedback on United Resources from a few of their references and so on. And if there's more technical stuff, questions that you guys have, I know Scott's here with Gibson Webster, so he can answer those.
Here, if I may, it's not technical, but the bids vary widely by like almost a third of the cost of the project. Are we confident in United's bid that they didn't just lowball it and there's gonna be more coming? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just a huge variation in the bids.
The big difference on that is item B for the heavy cleaning portion. That portion's a little more subjective. As you can see, for each, like item 1, clean and televising, the 10 to 12 inch, we estimated 67,000 lineal feet. We took half of that and assumed that that would need to be heavy cleaned. That typically cost a little more money. So it's kind of where did they put their money, but you can see that their estimate for the heavy cleaning is the one that came in a lot less than our estimate. So I think they're just maybe making the assumption they're not going to have as much heavy cleaning to do.
So what happens if they do have more heavy cleaning? Does it come back to us?
If they have more, yeah, it's paid per unit price.
Right, so we're approving the 340,000, so if they've got more cleaning than they anticipated, you'd come back for an adjustment to council?
We usually typically just add that, so it's a unit price contract. If they go over the units, they're paid that additional amount. So we typically don't come back to the council and ask for that.
It's not what the motion says, though. I mean, now I'm getting hung up on technicality, you know? So it's, if I say we're spending $340,939.50, that's what you can spend, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you have to come back?
Well, if we have to come back, we'll come back and ask for additional for the heavy cleaning portion.
Thank you.
Again, it's just an estimate on there. We can't see the sewers at this point. We don't know how much heavy cleaning they'll have to do.
Oh, I totally understand and agree with that. I'm just looking at the motion saying one thing, and I think our intent is slightly different.
Okay.
Sure. Yes.
This is for Dan, and I know, Dan, you weren't here, a few years back, but a few years back, we spent 150-some thousand on a sewer camera, and my understanding was that whole conversation was we were gonna be able to do all the camera work to save the city money so that when repairs needed to be done, we could identify them and then just contract the repairs out. So I guess I don't understand why we're not doing that now and we're contracting everything out.
Camera things as needed. We don't have a dedicated crew. If we used our water department to do this, realistically, we don't have the staff to televise 115,000 square feet, or not square feet, but 115,000 feet of sewer line. It's just, we don't have the resources or the manpower to actually accomplish all that. But we do use our televising, so if there's a main break or we're not getting water someplace, we can actually camera that, look at what's real time on what's going on in those sewer system or our water mains and so on and so forth. So we can do some on the as needed repairs and so on. So we don't not use it. We just aren't set up to do the work that the contractors can do at that scale.
So to clarify too, what this is setting is to allow us to do a 10 or 15-year capital improvement plan on all of our sewers. So we did certain areas as much as we could when we were having all of those issues, but this is actually intended to, not only is it for sewer, looking through the sewer and cleaning it, but it's also to give Giffords and Webster help to do our future improvements as it relates to which sewers need to be replaced and or lined, correct?
I guess back then, I was under the assumption, based on the conversations that I had with Lloyd at the time, that we were gonna kind of treat the sewers like we do sidewalks, and every year, we were going to take a section of it, we were gonna video camera and identify what repairs needed to be done and then farm that work out. So you wouldn't have to do a whole city in 1 year, you would just do, every couple of years, you'd end up going back over the same areas, but I guess that's not the plan anymore, so I just wanted to share that was my understanding, and it's a lot of money.
That did get us through a big issue that we were having at the time in particular areas. So,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't keep up, we're never gonna get ahead if we don't kind of do it in this manner. And also, we just need to know we need to start preparing for what sewers are gonna need to be replaced. But they still do camera system quite a bit.
Other questions?
But thank you for that.
I move that to approve the awarding to the bid for our 2019 sewer cleaning and televising program to United Resources LLC of 32900 Capitol Street, Livonia, Michigan. The expense of $340,939.50 will be charged to the Water and Sewer Capital Outlay account number 592000977, and approval for the DPW Director to sign contract documents following the approval of the city attorney.
Is there support?
Support.
All right. Moved by Leaks May and supported by Martin. Now, other questions or comments? Right, Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Leaks May.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Polika.
Yes.
And Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. That concludes the regular agenda this evening. Next item of business is call to council. Chief, nothing from the police department this evening? How about from the fire department? Nothing from the fire department. Where am I going here? Parking, because you just got up. Anything from parking?
I was just going to ask Kara if she was going to announce, next week, Monday, is President's Day. As a result, parking will be free. People will be unable to pay for parking through our usual methods.
All right.
That's all.
It's always good news. Lorena, anything?
Signs on the kiosk?
Yeah,
Signs on the kiosk?
signs on the kiosk. Yeah, okay. From Recreation, she's going to make you talk again tonight.
Yeah, she's
All
done
right.
enough tonight.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
So this past weekend, we had our daddy-daughter dance. We
Yeah.
drew more than 240 people out to Ferndale High School for this past dance. It was wildly our most successful dance that we've done. Our next special event that we're going to be doing is a super brunch, which will be happening on Saturday, March 9th. Registration is already open for that, and you can look forward to more information on Facebook and on our city channels.
I'm sorry, what is a super brunch?
Super brunch is going to be is an event geared toward mothers and sons as opposed to dads and daughters, and it's a brunch event where we'll be having the kids go through and create their own comic book persona. And as a part of that, we're going to have a parkour workshop that'll be teaching them different athletic aspects of it, along with a visit from one of our a superhero.
Great. Thank you.
Really cool.
We are also going to be attending the early learning fair that the library is going to be putting on tomorrow night. So you can come out and check us out and see some of the events and stuff that we have to offer. It'll be happening from, I believe, 5:30 to 7:30. Cool.
Yeah, excellent.
I'll ask Jeannie Davis to take you, Dan, to the super brunch.
What do you mean?
Kira, anything from communications this evening? All right, Jordan, anything from community development and community and economic development?
So I just go with CED.
Thank you.
But good evening, Mayor, Council. I do have one quick announcement. For those that may have heard, the city is in an exclusive negotiating agreement with Baker College, an exploratory period to see if having a downtown urban campus is a right fit for us. And the first public meeting opportunity for that will be February 20th. It's going to be a joint effort with the Ferndale Planning Commission. It'll be here in council chambers, February 20th, 6:30, until we finish, which, as Justin can attest, sometimes those can be midnight oil burners, but that should be a great meeting. We're going to have some facilitation support. Baker College will be on hand. This will be just the first chance to get an initial look at some of the concepts that they're exploring for our community.
Great. Look forward to that. Thank you. Cheryl, anything from finance? Good evening.
I got a notice today from Oakland County that the assessment notices hit the mail stream today. So some people may have gotten them today, probably within the next week. You'll see an envelope that looks like this. It says notice of assessment on it. It'll have your taxable value and your assessed value. Just a reminder, we base our taxes on the taxable value, not the assessed value. I know this one in particular, there was a very large increase in the assessed value. Your taxable value is capped at 2.4% this year. So whatever number you see in your assessed value, your taxable, unless you just purchased your home, will only be going up 2.4%. There's also a handy flyer about Proposal A, talks about just some different things about taxes. And always, if you have any questions, you can always call me in my office and I can answer any tax questions for you.
Appreciate it. Dan, anything from HR this evening? Nothing this evening. All right. Marnie, anything for the clerk's office? Nothing tonight. No. April, from the city manager's office.
Or just a friendly reminder that due to President's Day, City Hall will be closed on Monday, February 8th, is that 18th? 19th? What is, yes, okay. Monday, whatever President's Day is. So just know that we'll open at our regular scheduled time on Tuesday morning.
Dan?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right. Councilman Martin?
Nothing this evening.
All right. Councilwoman Leaks May?
I'm just trying to think, is this our last meeting with?
No. Oh,
Okay,
no.
one more, okay, then.
Then I'm
In that,
counting.
in that case, nothing tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem Polika?
Just want to remind folks that Friday, February 22nd, 11:30 to 12:30, I will be at Dino's Lounge for my What's on Your Mind About Ferndale. Feel free to come by. We can chat if you have something that you want to talk about. And I'll see you there.
Excellent. I would just remind my colleagues on council and staff that on this Wednesday evening is the South Oakland County Mayor's Association, and you're all invited to attend. That's at 6:30, I want to say, 6 or 6:30. You all have the invitation, so please feel free to come by. That's all I have, and with that, our meeting is adjourned.